Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey.
Before we started, I think I have one small request. I have my colleague Ahmed Ali. It's the first time for him. He's a bit stressed. So can we have a big round of applause for him, please? Yeah, thank you very much. All right, why we are here today. Maybe before I talk about why we are here today, I think I wanted to show our cool logo that we designed for our observability team in Booking. I think it's, if you look closely, it talks about the blue eyes. That's basically us. So we are the observability platform team in Booking. How many of you use Booking.com today? If you can. Oh, wow. Great to see it. Great to see it. Thank you. So, my name is Murugesan Ramaiah. If you want to practice tongue twister, you can say that. Otherwise, people call me Muru, which is the first 4 letters of my name. I work as a solution architect within Booking. You already know who is Booking is. So we are one of the leading travel company. We are all part of Booking.com to make easier for everyone to experience the world, diversity, right?
And I'm Ahmed Ali. I'm a SRE in Booking.com's observability team.
Cool. Why we are here today? We wanted to basically talk about our observability journey, how we are redefining observability from what we had yesterday, from where we are today, and then what is the future ahead of us. And then along the way, we gained a lot of insights. There are lessons that we learned. We thought, this is good to share with all of you for your future use cases. For if you are on a similar journey like us, it could be useful. And then we take some questions. We'll try to answer as much as possible. If I do not know, but I will make sure, I have a way to reach out to me and also my colleagues. Then we can basically help you answer. As usual, so please scan and send us a questions. We're happy to answer all your questions.
So let's see what we were, where we were, and what we had. And this has been our observability stack in the past. We had multiple different observability solutions coming from different business units. And basically, we had multiple telemetry and storage, UI and alerting solutions. And this, although it was working, has its own problems. So the main problem was that the majority of our observability stack has been homegrown. And with our new developments, we needed to invest more time and effort to also maintain and develop new solutions for that. And for the external part of our observability stack, we were locked in. Remember the cables in the Alloy talk? We actually had a set of our own cables in addition to the other cables that people were using. And which was not sustainable at all in terms of toil, in terms of cost. And we had a fragmented observability stack at the end.
Absolutely. So how many of you can relate to what he was showing before to say, hey, these guys are sharing some of the stories like what we have today, right? So if you look at in our presentations, we have a lot of enormous amount of telemetry agents because we run our service on-prem, but also on the cloud, right? We also run a lot of observability backend system for metrics, logs, traces. So this is when what we thought as a observability group decided to step back and go back and work on the vision and strategy, right? So as part of our new vision and strategy, we wanted to put together centralized telemetry pipeline that should be interoperability out of the box, should be able to embrace agnostic way to observe, but also able to ingest the telemetry to any of the backends, supports the centralized telemetry pipeline. And instead of having multi-centralized metric system or logging system or tracing system, is there a way to unify metrics into one single system that can scale across booking needs, but also similar to metrics, can we also bring some solution for rest of the two pillars, that's the logs and traces as well? So one side, we wanted to unify metrics, logs, traces into a specific system that can scale for the today, but also the future needs. And we are also, as part of the vision, we also look into some of the areas where we did not invest in so far. One of them is profiling and also the real user monitoring. These are the two important pieces as well. One, profiling help us to solve shift left approach in the software development lifecycle, which we never used to do it. So we wanted to enable our engineering teams to bring the profiling solutions, instrument your applications, and collect the data so you can look at your application performance in the pre-production during the software development lifecycle. So you're equipped with all the data that you need so that you can make informed decisions. We are internet company, right? So it's important to understand customer experience, customer sentiments. So without real user monitoring, we will not be able to do it. We do some part of real user monitoring, but we lag on many areas, which we will talk about in a few minutes. So similar to our real user monitoring, we had a boring, non-intuitive, some of the legacy UI and alerting solutions, right? So how do we unify and provide unified experience for UI as well as the alerting solutions? So this is our simplified, modernized, feature-proof observability vision and strategy we as a group, we put together, right? Why did we do that? Because we wanted to basically be vendor agnostic, want to be able to centralize, modernize it so that we don't observe only on the cloud, also on-prem, but irrespective of where we build our applications, run our application, should be able to observe, but also able to scale, right? And the other thing is cost, which we will talk about in detail in the upcoming session, but we are blinded today. We don't know how much are we spending on observability solutions, where are we spending, why are we spending, is there a cost optimization strategy? Are we able to scale and make it reliable for booking needs today, but also the future needs, right?
So let's talk about our journey in the modern observability. If you see the logo in the right, Grafana is not new to us. This is the Grafana's logo in the first versions. And we've come a long journey from 2014 to right now that we are in cloud. And for every version that we were upgrading from version 1, we had to go through the process to make sure that these upgrades are not affecting our users, but we are able to provide them the new values of each Grafana version. And for that, we were basically upgrading Grafana in our lower environment, making sure that everything would have worked the same way that it should work, including panels, plugins, data sources, and alerts. And in case things didn't go as planned, we would have worked with our customers to make sure that they are upgrading or they're changing their resources to be compatible. And for the past 2 years, our focus was to make this unified observability vision happening. And
the click don't work. Okay, it's working now.
And for that to happen, similar to the deployment procedure we had, we needed to make sure that we are cleaning up some legacy systems that we were using, which was the migration to unified alerting and the Angular plugins. And another thing was that we didn't only have one Grafana UI, but we had 3. And these 3 instances have been widely used across our business units. So another transition that we had to make was to make sure that there are only one instance. And at the end, we successfully migrated to Grafana Cloud, in which we made sure that our internal and external integrations are working properly, which is a challenge by itself because Grafana is no longer in your infrastructure. And for the past few months, we've been successfully using Grafana Cloud, and our users have been happy.
Absolutely. So, not just on the UI journey that we modernized, we also want to be able to modernize the rest of the observability, right? How many of us today uses OpenTelemetry on production? Wow, that's a lot more than I expected. So what we are doing today is, like I said, we have a platform on applications that running on-prem, but also on the cloud. So we are a multi-cloud company. Our applications running on AWS, but also on Google, on-premise, within Kubernetes, also on EKS. We have a machine learning platform. We have a Gen AI platform. We have a data platform. You call it what you want. So we are a technology-driven travel company. So that's one of the reasons. If you look at it, there are a lot of telemetry agents. You have some of them is Telegraph. We still use them. Victoria Metrics, we use them. NanoCube, which comes with Graphite, we still use them. There are homegrown solutions like Event Proxy, which is marked in green color there. So Kevender is one of the homegrown systems. So we have a homegrown system. We have expensive AppDynamics systems. We have some of the open source system. We run one of the biggest Graphite instance in the world, I can say that. We have about 800 million active queries. That's really huge. We are running more than 300 bare metal machines where the Graphite basically horizontally scaled, right? So this is when we decided we want to basically bring our vision into reality. So we started going towards OpenTelemetry. The reason we gone towards OpenTelemetry is we believe in the strategy, but also we believe in our company strategy. So both are aligned. Like for example, we want to build a solution. They are interoperability, able to scale for the booking needs, also able to collect, process, enrich the telemetry, and then put them inside any of the backends so that we are not vendor locked in, right? Today we work with one of the partners. Tomorrow we decided to go someone else because of strategy, because of cost, because of security, whatever the reasons. We should not be locked in, right? So this is where we brought in the OpenTelemetry, and we were able to already get rid of our one friend, AppDynamics. So AppDynamics was one of the expensive solutions. We got rid of AppDynamics. We were able to onboard all the users into OpenTelemetry. And then we were also able to get rid of the other system that is Thanos as well. So what we're trying to do is, first thing that we did is OpenTelemetry. We scaled OpenTelemetry across all the platform. So we have the OpenTelemetry running as a daemon on all the VMs, bare metals, but on the Kubernetes, it's running as a daemon set. But we also enable our few fintech-based customers to run it as a sidecars because of some security reasons. We basically provide OpenTelemetry as a service within Booking. So which means we uplift a lot of dependency for our customers. What customer does is just an instrumentation piece. Again, we provide the instrumentation packages per language. They just need to instrument. We take all the telemetry data, we scan through them, we apply rate limiting so that we avoid the cardinality, we scan for PIIs, and then we ensure it goes to one of the backends. But how we are redefining, and that's where we are working closely with one of our partner, Grafana Labs. The reason we went to Grafana Labs, not because they are cool, of course they are cool, it's because they align with our strategy and also company strategy. That is, they natively support OpenTelemetry, right? So we want to work with some vendors who natively support OpenTelemetry, and we want to work with somebody who built a product for cloud, right? Who born on cloud for cloud, in other words. That's what I wanted to say. So one of them is, like I talked about, Graphite. It basically uses a block storage. It's very, very difficult to scale if you really want it. You can, of course, scale vertically, but we wanted to build a solution that we can scale horizontally, right? So Mimir support block storage, for example. So we believe bringing Mimir, being able to scale it on cloud, that's one of the reasons why we went to Mimir. Today, we store about 85 million metrics on Mimir. They are natively integrated with OpenTelemetry, and we were able to get rid of AppDynamics and also Thanos. All the metrics now coming into Mimir. The one that are marked in the red, they are basically some Prometheus instances running in few places, also the Graphite. So that's our upcoming strategy to get rid of our Graphite system in Prometheus so that we centralize all the metrics into a single solution that's Grafana Mimir. Now, similar to metrics, we also want to unify all the logs into one centralized system. Again, we are already running one of the biggest instances on Elasticsearch, which is about 800 plus parameter servers. We are already deprecated few numbers of clusters. Everything moved into Loki. It was a big decision. We still use Elasticsearch in the form of OpenSearch for full text search capabilities, but specific to observability logging use case, we thought Loki is a better because it's built for that particular system. In other words, it's a purpose-built logging observability solutions. And similar to Mimir, it can also scale horizontally, built on cloud for cloud. So we can basically solve some of the scalability issues that we have encountered with Elasticsearch. Like for example, if you are somebody who uses Elasticsearch today, you know the pain of scalability. You need to predefine the indexes. You need to ensure that if you want to scale, you need to scale vertically. So you will basically ended up having a performance problems. So we solved that problem with the Loki. We have seen massive adoption there as well. I don't want to talk about tracing. We don't use the tracing solutions from Grafana today, but we use this Honeycomb for a reason that we've been working with that vendor for more than 5 years. So it's not an easy changes. We can do it right now, but we still work with them because they support OpenTelemetry out of the box. So it's easy for us to bring the OpenTelemetry, which is a new telemetry agent, but also some of the legacy ways to bring the telemetry into Honeycomb. So basically, they can coexist. Profiling, like I talked about, we use Spiroscope. We introduced very recently. We see a good adoption there, good success stories with our customers, great benefits, great values in terms of ensuring building a quality software for all of booking customers. We were into RUM before, but we have some blindfolded on few places. So we are more than 50% of revenues come from mobile app. So it's important for us to observe end-to-end customer journey on web as well as on mobile, so that we are able to connect that front-end observability with the back-end, so we can provide that end-to-end distributed tracing and also able to measure the customer satisfaction, the customer sentiments using RUM solutions. We are in the early phase. We are working with one of our Grafana partner for mobile observability. Probably for next year, we will have some cool success stories, but this is too early to disclose anything on RUM and synthetic. I think he talked about user, how did we do the user interface unification and alerting? Similar to other areas, we had a lot of conflicting UI and then also alerting solutions. Now we can confidently say that we follow the Big Ten philosophy of Grafana UI. So our go-to user interface is now Grafana UI for alerting visualizations as well.
And with that being said, here we are right now. So for the past year and a half, we've seen great success in onboarding our customers in our OpenTelemetry pipelines, which are heavily relying on Grafana products, as you can see. And right now, we've been focusing on providing the automation values to our users. Right now, we are focusing on observability as code to make sure that our alerting dashboards panel definition, everything would be as automated as possible. We've seen huge interest, as my colleague said, on profiling, which is something we are focusing on. And we are evaluating different machine learning solutions to replace our homegrown anomaly detection services that have been around for ages. And in this transition, we've had some lessons.
Absolutely. I think this is where I want to spend a bit more time to share some of our lessons. When it comes to transformation or transition journey, in my opinion, but based on whatever I experienced so far, technological challenges is always looked into as a major things. But for me, technology comes the last, right? What comes first is the strategy. So like I talked about before, so one of the very first things that we did was we stepped back as a group. We defined a 3-year strategy with a vision in 2023. It's been 1.5 years. We have achieved many things, right? We brought in centralized metric solution based on Grafana, centralized logging solutions on Loki, open telemetry for about 3,200 services being today observed and being able to monitor, which is a massive, massive things. I think behind the success is the strategy that we put together and making sure the strategy basically not from top down, but it's going from the bottom up approach, right? When we put together strategy, we align with the team, align with the leadership, and make sure that the company vision and the observability vision, they coexist, they talk about the same language. And that's, I think, the biggest reason why we are here today and talking about it. When it comes to any new adoptions, more than technology, I think human is the biggest obstacle in my opinion. I'll give you a real example, right? When we decided to replace open telemetry with one of the legacy system that was built a decade ago, it works still today. It does the job. Think about the people who've been using the system, who was the pillar of building the system a decade ago. Now he or she needs to work on a new system. So there was a lot of chaos, right? So we need to be really honest. There was a lot of questions. And the thing what we did is, we were honest and we were humble, but we were also transparent to say, well, of course, the technology is going away, but not you, because we need you. You understand better about the Booking.com as a company and Booking.com, the technology landscape that we use. But the new technology is going to come. You tell us what you need. You tell us what you want us to do from a leadership perspective. So we basically enable what the team needs. We allow the time to digest and make sure we enable and the right things, the right tools for them to do the job, right? And then bring them to our vision and strategy for the alignment. Next thing is teamwork. For me, when it comes to transformations, again, it's not about one team who can own everything. So we want to basically build an observability platform, but at the same time enable enough autonomy for engineering teams, right? We want the platform, not the end-to-end journey. So there is a collaboration required, right? We need to be transparent. We need to be proactive in communicating. We also need to distribute that the work that we need across the company. So we ask for observability champions. We identified observability champions based on specific interest. We formed a group specific to each verticals that we support, and then we worked as a community. We worked as a team to contribute to some of the open source product like OpenTelemetry, for example. And that's how we were able to see a massive adoptions. Then the cost. Just a quick thing that I wanted to understand. How many of you today do a total cost ownership analysis for your observability platform? Let's be honest. Oh, wow. All right. This is one of the project my boss asked me to take over. And this is a great learning for me as a personal, but also for rest of the leadership, right? We were able to understand that there is nothing is free in this world, that including the open source product that you use. In order to scale OpenTelemetry, we know that OpenTelemetry is a open source community provided, but in terms of the platform cost, in terms of the resourcing required to scale that solutions, everything is cost, right? So this is when we decided to work on total cost of ownership. Otherwise, we don't want our company to be bankrupted, right? So it gave us a lot of insight in terms of how much are we spending for observability platform, where are we spending, how much amount are we spending there, is there a possibility of deprecating something as we're ramping up, how are we going to do the ramp down of the legacy, the existing solutions, which is not doing the job for us, right? So we use the data to identify some of the places, some of the technologies to retire, and put together ramp-up plan and also the ramp-down plan together. Again, learning and educations, when it comes to transformation, when we are adapting to the new things, we worked on many things. We created a talkathon, which basically where we invited all the observability champions along with our observability group to revamp the training, to revamp the observability documentations to be up to date so that our documentation trainings are up to date for customers, also the internal teams to use it and increase the adoptions as well. Irrespective of how good the documentations are, your trainings are, customers still going to ask questions. So we did set up a good support process, the incident management process. Also, we enabled feedback loop. That's, I think, is one of the important things as well, to make sure we collect the continuous feedback and improve as we progress.
And like me being a technical person, I'm talking about technical challenges, but actually this is not about technical challenges. It's more about communication. So when you have a dedicated team to manage a technical product, you are get used to have a hands-on approach in troubleshooting stuff. And being on-prem, and even like harder when we went to Grafana Cloud, we were used to troubleshoot the issues we were seeing in Grafana. And what we learned and what we improved throughout the past 2 years was the way we communicate with Grafana folks. And we learned to be more persuasive. We learned to be able to have the right communication channels to fix our problems. We don't have the complete perfect communication channels yet, but throughout the past 2 years, we've worked with Grafana and streamlined many aspects of our communication channels, which helps us very much in the process of resolving our technical challenges, which has been many during this transition.
All right, so lot being said, just quick takeaway, vision and strategy, our foundation, embrace the change, embrace the failure, learn from it. Remember, learning and development is a growth opportunity. I don't think that they are a threat to be feared. If your observability doesn't help answering when something happened, what happened, why was it happening, if they do not answer any 4 Ws, then I think it's a time to change the observability platform and the strategy, not the questions. So with that being said, thank you for listening to us. If there are any questions, happy to answer.